Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is episode 3 of my podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about depression and anxiety. My depression and anxiety started from my childhood trauma. If you want to hear my story, please go to episode 1. If you have already heard my story, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Childhood trauma started my depression and anxiety, but so did my marriage to my first husband. My relationship with him started like any typical relationship. I fell in love young. I had a child young. One thing's for sure, he was definitely not ready to be a father, and I had to step up to become a mom. One point in time, I was working 2 full-time jobs and going to college full-time, as well as taking her to and from school because he just would stop helping me with that. As our relationship went on, it became very domestic and a lot of violence occurred. When I talk about violence, I mean depression and anxiety were caused from it because he was mentally, verbally, and physically abusive. There was one point in time where Sky, my oldest daughter that I share with this man, he had told her to eat her mashed potatoes, but it had pepper on it, because he had put pepper on it, and he knows that she don't like spicy stuff, but he put it on there anyways and just wanted her to eat it for some reason. Well, of course she didn't like it, so she was about to spit it out, and he just reared over and slapped her across her face as hard as he could. And then I about lost it. I mean, he had slapped her so hard, I don't even think he's slapped me at that point in time like he did her. She ended up with a handprint across her face, her entire little baby face. She was 6 years old, and it had hit her face so hard that blood vessels had broke in the shape of a handprint on her face. I knew after that incident occurred that it was over and I was completely done, but I was also stuck in the situation because my mom just had a heart attack scare and my dad had spinal stenosis surgery. And also my best friend Tammy had moved out of state, so I literally had nobody to help me, nobody to help me move. I didn't even know anything about legal aid at the time. Had I known about legal aid, I would have definitely tried to get some other sort of help. I didn't really think I had close enough family to help me either because everybody's too busy with their lives or married off and moved away, so I was just stuck in a really bad situation. Another time, I keep getting gallbladder attack pains, and I went to get injections in my spine because I went to the nerve pain center. Well, not even 3 days after I got those injections in my spine, I had angered him because I asked him to get a job because I was going to have to take off to get a surgery on my hand, and that made him mad, me wanting him to help me get a job. That way he could take care of me and our daughter, as well as pay the bills. Well, he didn't like that very much, so he decided he was going to punch me in the middle of my back, leaving a fist print, which I took pictures of, and I drove over to his brother's house because my daughter was at my mom's staying the night, and his brother actually called the cops. But they didn't arrest him because they didn't see it happen and blah, blah, blah. They should have arrested him that night, but they failed to do so. He also destroyed our apartment. He pulled all my clothes out of our drawers. He tore up the living room, and then he left. He went to his mom's house. Fast forward a few months, and we're still together at this point because I'm still stuck in this situation. This was the final, situation that I went through with him as we were still together. And that situation was, I wanted to get my car looked at because it had been overheating, and he didn't have to be at work for 4 hours. He wanted to go to our friend's house, which happens to be somebody he used to date, and she was married to this other guy, but still his ex-girlfriend. When I told him I was going to take the car to get it looked at, he said no and started throwing a wet rag at me outside of the shower room, and then I went in the other room. Well, he got out of the shower, and he came out of the room and pressed me against the bed by my Like, his hand was on my throat. He's like, where's the freaking keys? And then he started dumping everything in the house out, and I just lost it. He continued to dump everything out, and I told him to stop. He took my phone from me at one point and put it in his back pocket because I guess he just didn't want me to call anybody. He called his stepdad to come get him, but that's not what happened. He ended up wrestling me in front of the front door and ripping the keys out of my hands, which took a chunk out of my thumb that I still have to this day. Then I guess he just got tired of me messing with trying to get my phone back, which he had in his back pocket. So he said, that's it, time to sleep. And all I remember is him lifting me up, like, you know, in the crease of your arm on the right side, and lifted me up by my neck in that part of his arm. So he said, time to sleep, and then next thing you know, my windpipe is being crushed out of me. He basically carried me from the living room, which is maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 feet from the bedroom, by my neck, and slung me across the bed. Needless to say, our 6-year-old, our daughter, had witnessed the entire event, and that was just very traumatic. I can't imagine what she was going through, what she was seeing, on top of what I was going through, not being able to breathe and trying to get back on my feet. Anyways, he had ripped the keys from my hands at that point, and his dad was out there in the car. He had came over, but Mark had took my keys and he went and got in my car. The only thing he took with him was the TV and the Xbox. That is literally the only 2 things he cared about. He didn't care about Sky. He didn't care about checking to see whether or not he hurt me. And yeah, he basically stole my car. In the midst of all this, I was on medical leave because I had just had surgery on my right arm and my hand for carpal and cubital tunnel. Of course, he told the cops when they made a police report that I slapped him for 30 minutes straight, which, how am I going to slap him when my arm was in a cast and my hand was basically all stitched up? But they said that they couldn't arrest him that night because we both had marks on our bodies. I never denied that I tried to scratch and claw my way out of the situation, because if you were being choked to death or your windpipe was being crushed, what are you just supposed to let him kill you? You're just supposed to let him squeeze the entire life out of you? No, I told them, yeah, there was probably scratch marks or marks in general on the right side of his body because I was trying to break his release. However, he denied ever even touching me. I took pictures. I had red marks on my neck. Like, the whole thing was just so messed up. But if he went to jail that night, they said I would go to jail too because he had marks on him, which the law in Arkansas, or at least in this county, is just ridiculous. We did, however, go to court because I saw a protection order, and he basically got on the stand and lied to the judge. So he put his foot in his own mouth. He denied ever touching me or doing anything to hurt me, but then a few minutes later tells the judge that he put me in a chokehold, and then the judge is like, wait a minute, you said that you didn't touch her, but you put her in a chokehold, so which is it, dude? I mean, the judge knew you were lying. He put a 2-year protection order on, and everything seemed to be good, and then we moved back to Arkansas. For a while, I had to deal with Sky wanting to see her dad, but her dad not being allowed to be around. And because he wasn't allowed to be around, Sky started cutting herself, like her wrist, and doing just teenage things to try to either feel better or to get past the situation. Which, being a mom, that is super scary. We had to seek therapy and go through a bunch of medications and situations with the doctors. So yeah, it was very stressful, and it was a lot of my anxiety that led to more depression and so on. She seems to be doing somewhat better right now, so hopefully she will continue to stay strong and be good. I still, however, get PTSD, and I get nightmares and just think about the situation all the time. I'm lucky it wasn't worse and that we got out of the situation okay. So yeah, that's my story. If you would like to give this video a thumbs up, please please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos.